Welcome to John's Tarot. Thank you very much. I hope you all are having a great week. This will be episode 2 of Faces of Addiction. And today I'm going to talk a little bit about my experience, my personal experience, kind of what happened to me in a general sense. I'm not going to go through the whole long, boring drunkalog, but there are some things I think are worth mentioning as as a person who's come out of this. I just celebrated 37 years of sobriety, and I want to tell you, my sober life has been more than I can imagine. And part of this is I'm reflecting on what happened to me, how did I change, and things like that. And when I look back on my old life and the things I used to do, I ask myself, how did you think that was a good idea? Because clearly it wasn't. So we're going to go ahead and move into that, and I'm going to just describe it briefly, kind of what happened, and just briefly, just to get an idea. I started doing all this kind of crazy stuff when I was about 14, for multitude of reasons. The primary reason, though, that I picked up the habits from my adults around me. I saw what they did. I wanted to be like them. And then there was also the multi-generational thing, and it was like I just picked it up. I was the generational representative of the maladaptive system. That's what I call it now. And I was really kind of a bright individual, a bright kid. But once I started drinking, at first it started out to be one big party. Woohoo! Yippee! But it didn't finish like that. That's why I'm showing this picture in the background. It didn't finish like that. It wasn't one big party. It wasn't one big Yahoo! Yippee! What it did was it completely narrowed my world and distorted my judgment. I found that after I started, like around 14, I was into theater and things like that. I was doing well in those things, but after I started drinking and stuff, it completely narrowed my worldview and narrowed what I was able to do. My mom had already passed away like that by this time. I had this alcoholic family, and dad kicked me out. I was about 14 the last time he kicked me out, and I never went back. I was stayed with relatives and things like that. After I started, it completely took a hold of me. It eased all that pain, all that grief, all the sorrow, all the uneasiness in my life, and that's all I wanted to do. And it completely held my focus. I couldn't finish high school. I was so focused on getting loaded the whole time. And as I grew older, I thought, still I thought life was just one big party. And I found that I could not achieve my ambitions. Rather than going to college, a career, and family, I found that all my energy was focused on survival, legal problems, and my descent and bailing myself out of the descent I had taken myself into. When they say it's progressive, for me, it was really progressive. It started out as a weekend thing when I was a teenager. By the time I got out of it, I was a daily drinker, along with and unable to hold jobs. And I've talked about that, and using other substances. And I'll tell you the very end of it. And at the end of my drinking and using, the meth dealers in San Clemente were asking me if I ever thought about getting sober. I was like, what, me? Why would I do that? 37 years ago, that's kind of where I was, and always in trouble with the law, and periods of homelessness, unemployable, undesirable of society. It did not end well. I'm just so lucky I found my way out. And I don't know how that happened. I had several things happen to me. One thing was, oddly enough, I was looking for a way out. I knew there was a problem, and I was looking for a way out. And I encountered Buddhism, which was very helpful. And I also encountered the I Ching. Well, the I Ching came to me. I wasn't looking for it. it found me, and that was very helpful. And it kind of gave me a set of tools that my father never had, that my grandfather never had, that my great grandfather never had. I always like to say that my brother's done some genealogy work, and turns out I come by my alcoholism honestly, carrying on the family tradition. I had a great grandmother who was a bootlegger, and a great grandfather who was a moonshiner. I come about it honestly anyway. My question then is, how do you help somebody? And you were people were telling me, like these people in San Clemente were telling me, and I couldn't understand what they're trying to tell me. And I'm sure my family was telling me, "Hey, you got a drinking problem," and it just didn't make a dent, didn't make a dent in me. And I talk about these things, and I know this is not going to make the dent in the mind of any active drinker, right, or any active addict, because there you once you get so into it, and your focus becomes so narrow. I know, mean, you can't reach them. So I'm going to tell, and that's how it was for me. What finally reached me, of course, was a lot of pain, a lot of emotional pain. Uh, the Buddhism helped a lot because it gave me some insight into myself, into the things that I was doing. I'll give you the one big insight, one of the big insights, and that was that they talk about, you want to know where you're going to be in the future. Look at your actions you're taking today, and you want to know how you got here. Look at the actions you've taken in the past. So it put the responsibility squarely on me. And as I started thinking about those things and looking at it, I came to understanding that it was all my actions and all my beliefs and all the things that I was doing is what brought me to that situation. And if I kept on doing what I was doing, I could see the results I was getting currently, and the results were not going to get any better. I saw people around me dying, going to prison, things like that, and I was like, I think I've had enough. I think I've had enough. I'm ready to hang up my guns. That's kind of what happened to me, the short form of what happened to me. But say you have somebody like this in your life, how can you help them? How could you help? I mean, all the talking in the world was not going to impress me. What impressed me was pain. So let's say you have somebody like this in your life, and good people, just like me. I'm a good person. I I don't know if I was a bad person back there, but I was certainly doing bad things, bad habits, unhealthy habits, things that were not conducive to a long and healthy and successful life. And I'm going to tell you, that's been the major thing of sobriety for me, is that, relatively happy, relatively successful life. And I never thought I'd be able to achieve that. My ability to read tarot is a gift, an expression of divine love, and I'm here to share it with you in that same spirit. So, how do we help someone? You have someone in your life who cannot see. How do we help them? Maybe I'll throw some runes today, because this is a deeper question. How do I help someone? You have someone in your life who cannot see. How do you help them? And a lot of times that answer is just letting them hit bottom and don't bail them out and let them experience the pain. But I'm interested in what the tarot has to say. How do you help somebody who cannot see? And another thing you could do is take care of yourself. If you're in a relationship that involves these types of things, you got to start putting yourself first. How do you help somebody who cannot see? Because even if they see it, that they only see the top layer. They could only see the top layer because the layers are so deep, and it's more than any one human being can absorb in a sitting. It's more than you can understand with just like, hey, let's have a little talk. No, this takes time. These things take time for it to absorb. And sometimes, and you don't understand the full depths, how much trouble you're really in until you start getting out of it. So, but how can I help someone who cannot see? And this could involve any bad habits you have. Uh, oh, I don't know, gambling, or what's another bad habit? The overspending. Um, how do you help somebody who cannot see? They're involved in addiction. How do you help somebody who cannot see? Keep shuffling these up a little bit. How do you help somebody who cannot see? I hope you've been enjoying these little podcasts this week. And we're going to stop and cut. How do you help somebody? I'm going to throw out 3 cards, and then I'll throw the runes on them. My first card is the 6 of Wands. Second card is the 7 of Cups. Multiple choices. 6 of Wands, success, victory. And then the third one is the Queen of Wands. Let's throw some runes on this just to take a deeper dive. My first rune, Odin, Priya, help guide this reading. How do you help somebody who cannot see? 6 of Cups. 6 of Wands, excuse me. And this rune is Sulu. And that is the rune of bringing light into darkness. If you looked at the rune series, I talk a little bit about the runes and success and victory. So the question is, how do you help somebody who cannot see? I think somebody like myself is in a unique position because I can show them a successful life, over what it looks like to overcome these things. If you know somebody like that who's having problems, I think what you should look for is somebody who's been successfully overcome these problems, who's successfully been able to achieve some sobriety or overcome these specific problems, and ask them if they would be not only ask them if they'd be willing to talk to your family member or your close friend, but your close friend has got to be open to it. Your family member has got to be open to talking to this person, and if they talk to this person can help overcome they call it denial, but and some people they call it denial, but it's darkness. They're trapped in the hell of darkness, and to bring bring a little light into their darkened perspective is what this person could do. If you know somebody who's in recovery, definitely befriend them and ask them questions about recovery and how they came out of it and how they can help. And this person will be glad to talk to you and to bring some light into your life that you can see that there is a way out. This person has done it. You could call AA 12. You can call the AA hotline. There's one in every city, and they might be able to give you some direction and help bring you into that light and bring you a little light into that dark life. And then the 7 of Cups, and the rune is Algas. So the 7 there. So when we talk about recovery, there are many choices. There's rational recovery. There's all kinds of methods of recovery, and it's just up to that individual whether they want to make a choice. And you can investigate the many methods of recovery and what that looks like, and what might work for them. I found what worked for me, and I'm happy with it. I'm happy with my decision. I'm happy with my choice. But also, what you need to point out to that individual that they are responsible for their own choices in life, and they are probably experiencing some negativity in their life, and they will come to you and they'll say, "Well, it's because that boss isn't nice to me. It's because if I had a wife like you, you'd be. If I had a kid like this." None of that is true. These are all scapegoats. These are all lies they tell themselves, and that's what all these choices are. The truth is somebody like that is responsible for their own life. We're all responsible for our own lives, one step at a time, one choice at a time. And then the rune Algas, this is a journey. It is a hunt. Algas is the rune of the hunt. Be careful, go step by step, and you won't be harmed. If you want to help this person, help them understand that they're responsible for their own life and they're responsible for their own problems. This is a journey of discovery. It's a journey of self-awareness, and you can help them with that. And with the help of your guide, you're going to have who's done this successfully. And then for the Queen of Wands, hopefully these aren't running too long. It's not. I can really get long-winded on these topics. Jackass. So The Queen of Wands is the best kind of leader, the best kind of what kind of person would you like to be? Ask this person, what kind of person would you like to be? What kind of person would you like to see other people see you as? A success, or would you like? You really know how other people view you? The Queen of Wands is somebody who's been successful. She's dynamic. Is that where you would want to be seen? And the rune is Dagaz, bringing light into darkness. The rune's always big up, big breakthrough, light into darkness, a new dawn. So you could start over if you're one of these people who make it clear to them they can start over. It doesn't have to be this way. They have a choice. They could be the Queen of Wands, the dynamic, successful person. They can be that person. It doesn't have to be that way. Dagaz. They can break through and they could change. It's all up to them. It's their choice. And now your choice has to be: Am I going to continue? Am I going to continue in the same relationship I've had with this person in the same way, or is that going to change? But that is a question for another podcast. So we're going to go ahead and wrap this up a little bit. And let me see here.
Goodbye, Professor Marvel, and thanks a lot.
Well, it was my pleasure. I'm going to talk again about being part of a community. If you have questions about any of the topics I talk about, or any of the symbolic languages I talk about, or thoughts or personal problems related to these issues, send me an email at john@johnstarot.net, or you can send it to me from my webpage, johnstarot.net, and you can send me a message for there. And I would like to do an extra episode a week about answering questions, feedback from listeners, because we're forming a little community, and it's a worldwide community. I got people in Japan and New Zealand and Australia and Germany and England and South America and all over the United States. Small group, small group of listeners. I wish it was a large group of listeners, but even a small group, it's got the journey of 1,000 miles begins with the first step. So be careful, be cool, be kind, and remember, have courage, find faith, and I will see you all again next time. Goodbye.